Welcome to Mallory Park near Leicester, where we're to witness the very first race for a young driver. Perhaps not a driver dreaming of being a Grand Prix star, and not that young either, because we're here to see the very first race start for Lovecars' very own Paul Woodman. Paul, what are you doing? It's qualifying. What? I thought it was one type of tyre only.
It is one type of tyre, but we've gone for a bit of a drier tyre because it's drying out a little bit now. So we're going for a dry tyre.
What is a drier tyre then?
Lower millimetre. We've gone for 3 mil. 1.6 mil is, you have to finish race 1.6 mil or more. So I'm going to go out qualifying with 3 millimetres on the tyres instead of a wet weather tyre, which I haven't got. Well, I've got the tyres, but I haven't got the wheels to put them on, so I got no choice really.
Do you feel a bit tense now before this first qualifying session?
Not really. I'm quite relaxed, I've got to say. I did the cardinal sin yesterday. I listened to everybody saying, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. So I've got a bit of a mishmash of wheels and tyres and brakes, but I'm all right. I'm quite relaxed.
Yeah.
As long as it's right.
Sounds perfect to me. I'm not quite so sure. Well, best of luck in qualifying then, Paul. Pole position for Lovecars, please. Pole position. Get your torque settings right. Mind you, Paul's not the only one making his debut today, because he's one of just 50 drivers contesting the Caterham Academy, exclusively for drivers who have never raced before. So they're all making their race debuts. The Academy is for drivers all driving the same road-legal 125 horsepower Caterhams on low-grip tyres. All for 30 grand. At the end of the season, you get to keep the car. The opening round was the Curborough sprint, one at a time against the clock over less than a minute. And our man Woodman, driving this year's media entry, was an impressive 4th overall. But today they are split into two 25-car groups, the greens and the whites, for the 2 races, each group having their own championship. So the 25 cars of the green group head out for their 15-minute qualifying session, where getting a clear lap would be critical. Now, when I first started racing, all the timing was done manually. We had to wait till the end of the practice session till the list was posted on the board and we found out where we'd qualified. And the closest was like 0.2 of a second was the nearest they could time us to. So sometimes there were 6 of us on the same time, and it was the first that got the time that got the grid position. Nowadays, it's instant. We can find out how Paul's doing lap after lap. Well, it was a promising start with Paul getting up to P4 early on, but with heavy traffic and Paul waiting around for a tow, he dropped back to 10th. And then things got even worse. Rather frustrated, just so it looked like Paul was on a clear lap. Red flags have come out. They're all coming into the pit lane. There's 7 minutes of the session left, but whether they restart or not, we'll have to wait and see. Well, luckily the flags went green. They got 7 more minutes. And on his first lap out, Paul leapt up to 4th. And it's getting so close. And in the blink of an eye, qualifying was over. Paul, you've qualified for a motor race for the first time of your life, but not on pole position. What's the matter?
They're fast. They're quick, aren't they? I blew it the first time out. I couldn't get a tow, and of course it's so important to get a tow here, but second time out I got a little bit of a tow, so scraped in 4th place, I think.
4th place, yeah, brilliant. Fraser 54.5, Newman 54.7, Kendall 54.7, and you were 54.8, so a 10th of a second would have been in the front row.
Very close. You know 4th is the best place to start on Mallory Park, don't you?
Obviously, yeah. But what happened mid-session? You suddenly slowed right down.
I couldn't get a tow. I was on my own, and it's so important on qualifying to get a tow. So I slowed right down to try and have somebody fast go past, and it just doesn't work like that. If you try and orchestrate it, it's so difficult.
So your first lesson it wasn't quicker with the tow because you didn't have a tow. So if you just kept going, you might have got pole.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, that's fast. That's quick. There's some quick guys out there. It's going to be so fun this afternoon.
Well done. So far, so good. Chris Fraser, pole position at the first Academy. I mean, only 9th at Curborough. Where's all the speed suddenly come from?
The car. No, just, I don't know, Curborough had a bad day. This place, I like the high-speed stuff. It's good fun.
Did you get a slipstream required to get the time just on your own?
On my own, just clear track.
I've told Paul. Paul's obsessed with it. He's watched too much Formula One. We get a tow, but just on your own. That's the way to go.
Ben Clucas told me basically just sort of the tow's good for one thing, but then they get in your way. So balance them out.
Well done. Congratulations, Paul. It is. Jeff.
Hello there, Tiff, how you doing?
You got pipped at the end. You were like on pole for half the session, and then you couldn't go any quicker.
Yeah, what it was, I just couldn't get the front end into Gerrard's. I was overdriving, which meant by the time I came out of Gerrard's, I was around about half a second down. I was able to make up the time, find later braking into the hairpin, but it just wasn't enough. So a tenth of a second. It's not quite as bad, though, as I lost out to first place by 100th of a second at the sprint. So, a tenth
But
of a second.
I mean, you are the pre-season favourite. You're aware of that, because you were going to do last year with this very car, but because of COVID, you didn't race. But you've been testing. You're doing track days with this car all last year. Is this true?
Yeah, very much like Paul, I'm always in a car and I've done lots of track days. I feel very privileged to have had the time. But a lot of the people here, there's one guy that drives 4 Radicals and BAC Monos, some people that have had Caterhams before, some people that have purchased practice cars off Caterham. So, we're all in it together, and it's going to count for nothing because it looks like it's just about to rain. And of course, let's see what happens when the red mist comes over and we're racing.
We look forward to some red mist. Anyway, well done for the front row anyway. Cheers. Mark, third on the grid for your very first motor race. You're fairly pleased with that?
Yeah, very pleased. Yeah, totally unexpected, but had some good tows. So there you go. Lost a wing, caused the red flag, but there you go.
Oh, I think
Maybe that helped.
people that cause red flags get disqualified, don't they?
Yeah, I hope not.
I hate to tell you this, but if you look over your shoulder, that is the human being that is alongside you on the grid. Does that cause you any concern?
The only concern it gives me is all the knowledge that you have given him.
Yeah, that's actually quite concerning. He has very, very good reason. Anyway, the very best of luck in the race.
All right, thanks very much, Tiff. Thank you.
But it's fair to say not everyone was quite as happy with their qualifying.
Joe, a couple of instances in qualifying. We're just looking at Paul's number plate, and he's thinking that you perhaps ought to be wearing that plate.
Yeah, he's borrowed mine. Yeah, not a fantastic demonstration, but it looked good. It looked good, and something for us to talk about.
Yeah, so, I mean, are you keen on the race? You move up through the field. Where did you end up on the grid?
Oh, I don't know. I actually don't know.
That's what you do. When you have a bad practice, you quickly don't know. I don't know.
That's what you told me to do last night.
That's great.
Yeah. So yeah, we're all good.
Wherever you are on the grid, there's only one way to move, and that's forwards.
Exactly.
And don't...
Not very happy. So nothing more to say.
I'll leave you then, Joe.
Leave you because it was lunchtime. And then, with the race only moments away, we had time to catch up one final time with a quite relaxed looking Paul.
So, Paul, the clock is ticking. How have you been feeling since the end of qualifying and waiting for your first race?
Pretty chilled, actually. A bit full from the lasagna. but other than that, I'm feeling chilled.
I told him not to eat anything before the race. I tell him all these things. That will be working against you now.
The good thing is there's a lot of grumpy people around that thought they were going to be a bit higher, that are walking around the strop, so it's easy to relax and look at them and just smile. Be happy.
So what have you got any sort of plan for the start? Or are you just going to go with the flow?
Well, my plan is to tuck in behind Jeff, who is one of the favourites. He's right in front of me in second position, but I've got a strong field behind me. It's just going to be trying to get around the first corner in one piece and then put some pressure on. I want to win this. I want to win this.
Highly unlikely.
You're not wrong there as well. My plan was, if you could just put my helmet and overalls on, no one will notice, hopefully, and then you could do this for me. How about that?
Highly unlikely. Paul, just enjoy. You're a racing driver. In about half an hour's time, just enjoy being a racing driver instead of a TV presenter.
Oh, thank you. I will. I'm going to enjoy every moment. Cheers, Tim.
Your first race is something you never, ever forget. And mine was just 50 years ago this month. Lining up in the middle of a pack of Formula Fords. I remember the second corner was a car cartwheeling alongside me. And I thought, this is it. I'm alive. I'm racing. And it's just so exciting. And I know all these 25 on the grid are going to be pulses coming out to 150, 200 beats per minute. And it's that thing about motorsport. When you enter that first corner for the first time, you just know you want to do this for the rest of your life.
On the grid with 25 other cars for that all-important start. With hundreds of drag races under his belt for Lovecars, I was confident Paul would get away well.
And it's Woodman into second place. What a start!
Tester around the hairpin on the first lap, right up Jeff's tailpipe, and Paul's pace was looking good. These cars are flat through Devil's Elbow, and that exit speed is all important to keep your nose in front all the way down the straight into Gerrard's, a never-ending 156 metre long corner.
Challenging for the lead down the back straight. Go on, Paul. Come on. He's in the slipstream.
Challenging is one thing, getting past is another. A dive down the outside, a box full of neutrals, locks brakes, and he's gone straight on. A brilliant recovery and he's back on, giving Ollie Hardick in car number 3 a bit of a surprise as he did so.
He was trying for the lead, and whatever he did obviously didn't work, and he's now about 15th.
It was now time for damage limitation.
Well, I guess it's now all about recovery. Paul's down in 14th. Let's just see how far back up the field he can get, but he's going to be so upset.
Now, some 9 seconds off the lead, it was simply a case of trying to claw his way back and see how many places he could make up. The standard was so good it was hard to make quick progress, but he was now hot on the heels of Rob Bain, who was probably watching his mirrors a little bit too much and ended up on the dreaded grass on the outside of Gerrard's. A good exit from Gerrard's into the slipstream and neatly past Mark Williams into the S's. By this time, Paul had gained another place when Curborough sprint winner Ian Harris, running in 3rd, spun off. So now it was all about reeling in the next group, who, luckily for Paul, seemed preoccupied fighting each other. Isla Low, a lap down, did exactly the right thing and left plenty of room to pass. But the pack of 4 now ahead of him were a different matter. John Vincent in 28 was another being lapped, and he dutifully stayed out of the way. Up to the hairpin, and Paul took a late lunge down the inside of Rob Bain in 76 and was now brilliantly back in the top 10. A lap later and he went for an even more audacious move. Luckily, Philip Clark saw him coming and took evading action, but contact was made. Sorry, Philip, but Paul was now 9th.
He's up to 9th. His little pack ahead of him. If he can get them and finish 6th, I think he should be dead chuffed, but he's got to get them first.
The thing was, everyone had such good pace, so it was incredibly difficult not just to catch, but to overtake. Paul tried what seemed to be his favourite move on Fred Chiddicks, but he must have seen what happened to Philip, so gave him a wide berth and escaped to begin a battle that would last to the very end. Time was running out fast. Paul needed to get in front of this tough group if he wanted any chance of catching the race leaders, and having closed the gap from 9 seconds to just under 4, they were tantalisingly close. Fortunately, this time his move on Fred stuck and he was up to P8. Theo Theato in 72 was another who wasn't going to make life easy for Paul. But with all of them now pushing right to the limit, he became another to go grass cutting at Gerrard's. Despite a nasty shunt in qualifying, the next target, Paul Carson in 48, was full of confidence, so our Paul had to try and get past him as quickly as he could. However, for the first time since the opening laps, he had to now think about defending, as he had Fred right on his tail. The lunge at the hairpin had been working all race, so Paul went for his favourite move once more, only this time, with no other car in his path to help slow him down, he simply outbraked himself and instead of gaining a place, almost lost one. Another great exit from Gerrard's and 6th was his. The leading bunch of 5 were in his sights, tantalisingly close, but time was running out fast and Fred was hot on his heels. Losing time scrapping it out, Paul was getting oh so close, but got too carried away and properly outbraked himself at the hairpin, and Fred was past in a flash. Side by side, they were now the ones slowing each other down. The battle would now be all about who would be 6th. The youngest competitor in the green group knows how to drive and was making his little Caterham as wide as possible. Expecting another lunge up the inside of the hairpin, Fred kept right, so Paul went left, braked impossibly late, but somehow made it to the apex and almost into the back of another lapped car, who didn't appear to see him as they went into Devil's Elbow. Fred wasn't giving up easily. himself yet again at the hairpin, it looked like Paul had given the place away. But having the inside line through the elbow, he gradually clawed his way back to cross the line 0.003 of a second in front.
So after 20 minutes of simply brilliant classic Caterham racing, it was Jeff Newman who took that win by a fraction from Chris Fraser, with our Caterham lottery winner Mark Jones in third. A hell of a battle for 6th place between you and Paul at the end. It looked quite tight at times. Was it all fair and square?
That was that was good fun, pretty close, maybe a few small touches, but coming over the line next to each other like that was brilliant first race. Yeah.
So you'll never forget your first race?
No, I won't. I think I'll remember that one.
Paul, awesome start. Trying to take the lead. Yeah, I know, but then what happened?
I span at the hairpin. The dreaded hairpin I span, giving it a bit too much beans, trying to go for first place too early on the second lap. Span, and I think I went down to 15th place or something, and then getting through the pack was hard work, but it was fun.
You'll never forget that. It wasn't fun, it was a tremendous drive. I mean, you actually had that amazing, I thought you finished 7th, but about you just got 6th, did you, at the post?
6 by 0.0003 of a second to Freddie, who is a brilliant competitor as well. Yeah, I think it was so hard to get through because everyone's a very similar standard and everybody's making themselves so big on that track.
I thought if you and Freddie had slightly worked together, you might actually have caught the front 5. You got so close to the back.
Yeah, we ran out of laps, so I think, Tiff. But it was brilliant. What a buzz. What adrenaline. Big respect to these people that race every week, because it's not quite as easy as it looks on the TV, is it? Well, you might.
Paul Woodman, racing driver.
And although they are in a completely different championship, there was of course the white group race. Unfortunately for them, the heavens opened and they had the most atrocious weather conditions. But congratulations to William James on a brilliant drive, with the white group championship leader Charlie Lower in second and Benja Headley in third. Huge congratulations to each and every Caterham competitor. You're now all officially racing drivers.